Hello everybody, Mark from Overlanding Forward, hope you're doing well. Are you wondering whether a rooftop tent, a ground tent, a cot, a swag is right for you? In this video we'll go through and analyse all of the options that you have so you can make the right decision the first time without potentially wasting thousands on buying the wrong tent for you at this point in time. So I'll break down the real pros and cons of each, whether rooftop tent and a roof rack potentially is right expense for you at this point in time. The types of tents that you can buy, some really good ones. You could also buy some fairly inexpensive ones to keep you going. The differences between a cot and a tarp, or even a swag, popular in Australia, beginning to gain popularity in Europe. So let's get into it. So I've used all three setups. I've had two types of swags. I've had ARB single and double swags. I've had a cot tent. I've still got it. And I've got a Helinox cot. I've also used tarps out the back, and I've had many different tents ranging from an Oz Tent 3 to different types of ground tents that have been perfect for what I've needed over the years. I've had 4 different rooftop tents, varying from real old ones about 25-30 years ago to more recently an iCamper Skycamp Mini. More recently I've had my Alucab LT50, which I absolutely love. And just while we're here, LT50 is 50 kilograms. I do have viewers in the States who don't know what kilograms are, so just in case those of you get freaked out by imperial or metric, that's why I use them. About 40% of the people that watch my channel are in the US, and they run on the imperial system, not metrics. So I'm sorry for the guy that had an emotional meltdown about it. So I've also built a comparison guide that looks at the differences between buying a rooftop tent, potentially a new roof rack, ground tents or Oz tent, those types of tents, which are more of the higher scale, quicker setup than more of the cheaper versions. I wouldn't recommend going anything below £100 or €100. Just don't go there unless they've been really tried and tested and you know you've got a good brand. I would highly recommend you get a really good pad, something that is comfortable to sleep on that meets your needs, whether you're a back sleeper or whether you're a side sleeper. All of the mattresses I've had in the different rooftop tents have gone. Why? Because they're just not comfortable for me. And I run an Xped mattress, which is sort of self-inflating, but you still have to pump it up. But you can get these really good pumps at this point in time to make it really easy so you don't have to bend over, inhaling into the thing at this point in time. When it comes to mattresses, you can use, this is an Xped. This actually came with the mattress that I had. It's got a light, it's a USB power bank, it's quite small. This will pump the mattress up in less than a minute. I also have this Flextail Mini, which has got a self-charging battery in it. They all come with different nozzles to fit the mattress you have. Something this small, something that's a little bit bigger. This is perfect. This helps pump up your mattress in minutes. Highly recommend you get these. I leave this in my tent all the time, actually both of them. So part of my setup process is I just climb up there, pop everything open the valve, plug these in, within a minute my mattress is pumped up. Now the other thing, when you do this form of travel, I think that one of the most important things is to get a really good night's sleep. I mean, really good night. Now you're going to get some situations where you've got bad weather, but it's going to happen anyway. There's nothing you can do about controlling Mother Nature. I'd highly recommend you bring a pillow from home. I have one, it's always in my tent. I've always had one on my cot. I think that was transformative for me. Instead of buying pump-up pillows that you're not used to sleeping on, bring a pillow from home. Now if you have down pillows or these microfiber ones, they can press down really, really flat. In fact, I leave mine up, pull it down, it compresses down no problem. But one thing that was transformative for me, probably about 15 years ago, was I started bringing a pillow from home, and I got great night's sleep because it didn't disrupt the way that you sleep at home. And remember, when we go away and do this, we're not at home, we're not in our bed at home where we feel comfortable. Try and make it as comfortable or as near as possible perfect to the way you had it at home. I know it's tough to do. You've probably got a bigger space, you've got a different mattress, but as best as possible, try and mimic what you have at home. Whether you have a rooftop tent, whether you've got a ground tent, and even in a cot. Cots are really comfortable. So are swags. And I'll let you in on a secret. Both of the ARB swags I had a foam mattress in it. That was probably the best night's sleep I've had in a tent. So rooftop tent, ground tent, swags, cots and tarps. Let's break down what works and what doesn't. So let's start with the big beast, which is the rooftop tent. So what I love about them is speed. I can pop my tent up in less than 2 minutes. I figured out now, and I've got it down to an art form, and you will too. I can pop my tent, inflate my mattress, put out my rain fly, put out my awning, put down my ground sheet, and have a cup of coffee on the go in 8 minutes. And I can pack up in 10. The only difference there is you've got to tuck things inside of covers for the awning, making sure that everything fits inside the tent. Now here's the downside to rooftop tents. 1, weight on your vehicle. 2, cost. They're not cheap. Don't go buying cheap knockoffs from China on AliExpress or Temu. You're asking for trouble. If you go do that, that is your choice. But my recommendation is buy a decent rooftop tent, priced between about £2,000 to £3,000. The downsides: 1, they're on your vehicle. So if you need to pack up, you've got to close your tent if you need to drive somewhere. So that's the biggest downside. It's not a base camp. Number 2, if you can't get through the night without having to get up and go to the bathroom, you have to clamber over somebody that potentially is in there, get down the ladder. And at night, after you've just woken up, it's quite scary. They're quite high up. And depending on how high your vehicle is, navigating your way out of that hatch onto that tent, turning yourself around and down, takes a little bit dexterity. I'm getting on in age. It's not something I can probably do in another 10 years. It was something I will probably have to go move to a ground tent, purely because I will not be nimble enough to go. And yeah, I'm older than I look. The other thing is you have to remember is that when you have a rooftop tent, on the entire roof rack, you are limited on space of what else you can put up there. And that's a major drawback. The compromise is you can put lighter things on top of your rooftop tent. So you can put things like solar panels, you can put your max tracks, shovels, things like that, but you cannot put a lot of weight on it, especially the ones in the clamshell that rely on the struts to push it up. Now there are alternatives. You can go buy stronger struts, but you don't want to be doing that. You're just adding costs. So the pros of a rooftop tent: speed to set up, speed to close down. So the other pros of a rooftop tent is you can keep most of your sleeping gear up there. Now I've gone through in detail about my tent. I can't put the ladder up there, for instance, but in some you can, or they've got built-in ladders. But in most cases, most tents, you can leave your sleeping gear up there. Now some don't, so beware of that. If your rooftop tent won't allow you to keep a mattress in there, if you switch your mattress out, pillows, sleeping bags, potentially a quilt, something up there, then you've got to put them in your car, which takes away more space where you can load things up. So just bear that in mind. Okay, let's look at ground tents. Now there are 2 styles. We've got the fixed frame ones, which would be more of your Oz tent, quick setup tents. And then you've got more of your traditional ground tent. So ground tents are great. You can pick up a really good 3-season ground tent for £500, which is perfect size for 2 people. And if you divide up the duties when you pull up to where you're going to go, you could get that set up just the same as it takes me to get my 8-9 minutes to get my rooftop tent and everything set up. You can get a ground tent set up, mattress in, pillows in, sleeping bag in, good to go. Now let's look at Oz tents. Now Oz tents are great. They're really quick to set up. A couple of minutes you can get those set up. The downside to that is they sit inside a frame. So they're a 2-meter long frame and you have to put them on a roof rack. So you cannot put those in a vehicle like this. They will not pack up quite small, whereas your normal ground tent would pack up. So you've got a consideration that it's got to go on the roof, unless you've got a really long vehicle, but it'll have to go on the roof. And with it on the roof, you've got to strap it down, which means you've got to get it off. They weigh roughly 20 kilograms, 35 pounds, those of you who are in Imperial. I've had one, I love it. I got rid of it purely because I went for backup to my rooftop tent. So have a look at the tents. The ground tents don't just suddenly think, I need a rooftop tent. Ground tents have a huge purpose and it's a great way to get started. And if those of you that don't like sleeping on the ground, you can get some really good sized tents that allows you to put cots in there as well. So don't worry about sleeping on the ground. If you put a ground sheet underneath it, a ground tent, you can get a really good, decent sized one that you could probably just about stand up in for about £500. Now, another consideration when you look at rooftop tents to ground tents, you can't stand up in that. So if you want to get dressed, you're going to have to do it leant over in your rooftop tent or do it somewhere You cannot get dressed in that tent. You have to lay down, you have to put on your shorts, all of that stuff. In a ground tent, which is high enough where you can stand up, you can get dressed. So that's another huge consideration. Now, if you want to slob it in the woods, it's fine, go ahead and do it. But that's a huge downside to having a rooftop tent and having a ground tent. Is in a ground tent, you have a little bit more space to be able to move around. That is a sleeping platform on the top of your roof. That's really all it is. So let's look at the third option, and that will be swags. They're hugely popular in Australia, and you can get them in Europe. So there's a whole series of them out there, different makes. Go do your own research on them. I've had 2 ARB Skydome swags. I've had a double and I've had a single. And I think a lot of people have bought them. Both of them I bought off of eBay. Both of them came with bags. And I saved huge amounts of money because I think people bought them, tried them, didn't like them. Swags are something you get used to. They are quite claustrophobic. They are really meant to have everything rolled up, which means they end up being bulky. The double I had on my Defender, it was big and it sat in its bag and it's very, very difficult to compress down. So one consideration you have with swags is they end up on the top of your roof and they're even bigger than a rooftop tent. The fourth one, which is really cots. There are different ways you can do cot sleeping. Now this is not for everybody. You can put cots in tents, as I mentioned before. You can also put cots underneath a tarp out the back of your vehicle or off the side of your vehicle, and you can sleep sort of out in the air. You can also buy tents that fit over the top of a cot. Now I've got one, a company called Jake Lau. He's the guy that sort of invented Helinox. I found this in Korea. Yes, it's yellow. I traveled with that for 2 years. It was brilliant. It kept me dry, it kept me cool, had huge amounts of vents in it. So what I would do is I would rock up, I would put a tarp out the back, and I had plenty of different tarps. I had a moonshade, I've got a nature hike gabled end tarp. There's pictures here, you can see it. And then I would put up my cot on an extenders, and then the tent would go over the top, then my bedding would go inside of the tent. I managed to get that thing set up quite comfortably in 10 minutes. It's wonderful because all the sides opened up, the top opened up, both sides opened up, which were mesh as well. So if you're in warm climates, I was in Italy, I was in Sardinia, and it was about 35 degrees at night. I basically unzipped the sides, I had the mesh there, and it was wonderful, the breeze was coming through. So if you're a solo travel, a really good solid cot, one Tigris does one, Helinox does one as well. I've got the Cot Max on the extender, which has got the legs on it. And then you can buy a cot tent. Helinox do a cot tent for their cots. So go have a look at those. The one that I have, which is the Jake Lau, which is the yellow one, is really just the same as what you can buy from Helinox. It just happens to be Jake Lau branded in Korea. But it's exactly the same type of tent. Huge amounts of meshing down both sides. So if you're going to warmer climates, and just so you know, the Helinox are 3-season. I'm pretty sure they're 3-season, so I wouldn't really recommend that in really cold weather, although they are double skinned, meaning they've got 2 types of material that is bonded together. So it could be that they would be able to handle that, but don't quote me on that. So double check again. So really what you need if you're going to go either with a cot, the cot tent, a tarp, a ground tent, is look for a 3-season. If you're going to be doing really cold camping, 4-season camping, I'm not your guy, but that's probably something that you have to decide whether that's the type of travel you're going to do. If you're going to do that, you're probably going to need the rooftop tent. And of course, you're going to probably need to bring some sort of heating equipment with you as well. So I built a comparison guide that you can get and download from my website. And it will take all 3 that we've talked about, with swags in there as well, as a consideration. The pros and cons, the cost of those. So go over to overlanding4wd.co.uk. Follow the link in the description or the link up here, and you'll be able to download that to give you an idea of the comparisons that I've had from all the experience of the different types of camping setups I've had to support my travel. So it really comes down to a number of things for you. Budget, your travel style, how often do you move camp? Rooftop tents are really great for doing quick overnighters, but if you want more of a base camp setup, then maybe a ground tent is the right thing for you. So especially if you want to do some trails, you could leave your tent in a campsite or somewhere safe, go do some trails, come back, you've got a base camp. So you don't have to worry about putting your tent back up when you get back. So let me know down below in the comments, what type of setup do you have? Have you got one similar to mine? Have you got a setup similar to what I've had before? an Oz tent. I know a lot of people have got them. They're extremely popular. Do you have a cot? Have you slept under a cot and a tarp? Is that an option for you? Just let me know. So if you need help deciding what's right for you, go over to overlanding4wd.co.uk. There's an option down there where you can buy 45 minutes of my time, and I'll give you all of my experience to help you decide what you need to do. A lot of the free resources, vehicle checklists, gear checklists, comparison checklists. If you want to do a vehicle assessment, if you want me to help you decide what is the right vehicle, you can go over there and have a look at that. Fill out the form, send it back to me, schedule some time. I'll help you build the right vehicle for you and your needs. Hope this has been interest to you. Please like the video if you like the video. If you don't, and you must, go ahead. Okay, thanks very much. See you on the next one.